Hey, well, today I'm angry because I can see what's coming. And what I'm talking about is the states and municipalities that are busted. Totally, completely busted. Even during this COVID pandemic, they did not lay off any employees. They haven't reduced the size of government at all. What do they think's going to happen? We're not all going back to work. We cannot provide the level of revenues to these governments that they were expecting, that they were used to from before. Why do they not react? They need to be laying people off. They need to be downsizing. They need to be making sure that they can survive. Instead, it seems to be that these local governments are spending as much as they possibly can in the hope that if they're in a deep enough pit, the federal government will throw them a lifeline. Well, I will point out to them that whether you know it or not, the federal government is in no condition to throw anybody a lifeline. Today, the federal government prints money with aplomb and acts as if there's nothing wrong with it. It's a gross distortion of all markets to create money out of thin air and introduce it into the economy, especially because it always goes to favored people and not Main Street. This is the way of the world around the world. It never changes. It never will change. People in power want to reward their friends. People want to elect people to power who will further their own interests. This has been going on since cavemen first held a ballot, for God's sake. It's not going to change. But what can change is that the people can stop being helpless spectators to their own demise. These governments, local, state, municipalities, these entities are enormously in the hole. They have employees, they have pension plan obligations. There is no way they're going to be able to meet these obligations, period. And there's no way that they can come to the people to ask for more. We don't have it. We're not a rich nation anymore. Most of us are struggling to survive now. And when July ends and the unemployment payments end, I don't know what a vast majority of this country is going to do. The money will just stop. But for these local governments, it's as if they think the flow of funds will never stop. They keep spending money as they did before. Nothing's changed. During this COVID pandemic, government workers were considered essential. Now, you may have government workers in your family, but the last thing that government workers are is efficient or essential. And yet here we are, we've allowed these states and cities to incur enormous debts. And you think that that would have solved the problem? No, we're just facing the beginning of it. Enormous deficits are coming up. The states and cities are not going to be getting anything near the revenue that they were expecting from their captive taxpayers, and there's nowhere to get it from. But they're not acting as if there's any kind of an emergency. Why is that? Are they just relying on the federal government to bail them out? What if the federal government cannot or chooses not to? Are we the people going to stand by and allow these actions to be taking place on our behalf without even knowing what is going on? This is one of the things that makes me so infuriated. People seem not to care at all about what is actually happening. These states and cities are broke. What is the appropriate response? They should downsize. They should focus on what services they can provide. They're not. They're spending money with reckless abandon, as they always do, and relying on some kind-natured fairy godmother to bail them out. There isn't going to be one day, and maybe this is the day. Please, let's wake up.